It once took plenty of hubris to request an opt-out clause in an MLB contract. In 2001, Alex Rodriguez, then one of the best hitters in the game, began a 10-year, $252 million contract with the Rangers which stipulated he could walk away from the deal 70% of the way through its term. It was a monstrous salary guarantee coupled with a contingency to pursue even more, while seemingly leaving the signing club high and dry. But Arad was a superstar, his reputation having enough pull to make an opt-out possible. Times have changed. More baseball's worst contracts 15 years later, when players such as Ian Kennedy and Vian Chen, hardly among the upper echelon of talent in baseball, start contracts with opt-out clauses allowing them to leave the club just 2 seasons into 5-year pacts. It's clear the opt-out clause has expanded beyond elite players to become an extra tool in the mid-level free agents' negotiating arsenal. Once you give a group of players a right or the ability to do something, it's very hard to take it away, said one prominent agent who spoke to Sporting News on the condition of anonymity. The perception remains that players own the advantage with opt-out clauses. But savvy organizations have demonstrated a willingness to take the chance that the addendum can reap benefits for them. The potential windfalls, financial gain for the player and prime production for the team, tend to outweigh the uncertainties when each side of the negotiating table believes it has gained an advantage. As such, a gradual increase in opt-out clauses could broaden to young pre-arbitration players as well as players waiting for a market reset or for their personal value to climb. Teams search for an edge. The teams that are against opt-outs will always push back on them, but I think there are teams that will do them because they covet the player that much, the agent said. The reality concerning opt-out clauses in baseball is that they'll be around for a while and further expansion seems inevitable. With opt-out clauses becoming more popular, it behooves players and the representation to push the envelope, while forcing teams to step out of the box when determining whether to sign players pressing for an opt-out clause. The inherent risk for clubs in any long-term deal is that the player's performance will tumble directly after the deal commences. Once the decline gains dramatic ferocity, teams become saddled with tens of millions of dollars invested in a player failing to live up to the contract. The opt-out clause not only provides the player an out, but there are teams that will assume the risk in hopes that they only pay for the player's prime seasons. An opt-out clause can certainly work to the team's advantage in certain circumstances. If a team signs a guy at 28 and he has the ability to opt out at 3,233, and the deal lasts until HES 3,536, the team has his prime years, the agent said. Sure, the team paid the player a large sum of money, and yes, lose the player, but they know they've received the prime years of the player. The signing team's unspoken twofold wish might be that the player outperforms his production value during the years leading directly to the opt-out season in conjunction with a strong marketplace for the position. In that instance, the player feels comfortable opting out, thus alleviating his former team from the monetary commitment as the player heads toward or into his decline seasons. Creative opt-out scenarios on the horizon. The financial considerations are undeniable, but reasons to add opt-out clauses are evolving. Adding the clause allows the ability to re-look at the current team and other teams because things can change dramatically in a 3 or 4 year period, the agent said. A player thinks he knows the situation, but doesn't really, until he gets there. Players negotiate long-term deals often fraught with more questions than answers, so securing an opt-out clause allows an opportunity to re-examine non-salary factors, marketplace for like players, teammates, the town, family happiness, state taxes and the club's present future standing in the league down the line. More the 20 worst MVP picks of all-time young players might get in on the opt-out action. I think where you might see it come into play more, and this would be at the agent's insistence, is in some of these pre-arbitration deals in relation to things like trades, the agent said. The agent's thought here is that if a player signs a pre-arbitration deal, which tend to favor the club when the player exceeds performance projections, the player would have the ability to opt out if traded before what would have been his free agent seasons. We can take it a step further and suggest that a player's agent might propose an opt-out regardless of being traded. Further opt-out clause circumstances may center on short-term deals. Yoenis Cespedes is a greater example, somebody that did a smaller deal with the ability to opt out of it, the agent said. I think that you will see that expansion, and agents getting more creative. Speed's 3-year, $75 million deal in 2016 included an opt-out after one season, which allowed him to see whether the market would go for his position changes. It didn't. Speeds opted out and then resigned with the Mets, gaining an extra 2 years and $35 million in the process. Again, weak and intimate, these type of short-term, opt-out pacts need not involve superstars. Consider a recently injured player desired by multiple teams, benefiting from a short-term guarantee with a chance to opt out after proving he is healthy enough for a longer-term deal. Think about the player who simply had an off year in the season preceding free agency, securing a 2- or 3-year pact and then opting out once they demonstrate the poor season was an aberration. Contracts with opt-out clauses are no longer one-dimensional, stardom-driven agreements. Teams have bought in, perceiving they can secure an edge. As such, opt-out clauses will continue to transform the marketplace.